Alrighty, so welcome everyone to La Mesa Table Talk. We have a special speaker tonight, Deneen Kelly, who is presenting on the Enneagram and demystifying the Enneagram. Really excited to have her with us this evening. So we'll turn things over to her and just look forward to learning more from her on what is the Enneagram and just how we can apply it in our own lives.
Hi, everyone. Good evening, and thank you for having me with you tonight for this table talk. The Enneagram is one of my favorite things to talk about, so I'm really looking forward to introducing it to you in different ways. And tonight is really just going to be a very broad introduction to what the Enneagram is and some important ways that we can learn and grow with the Enneagram. I appreciated hearing from some of you and what interests you, because I share a lot of the same interests. It was both the ways that the Enneagram can help me in my own personal growth and journey towards understanding myself and continuing to mature and grow. Also, it has so much wisdom to help me understand my fellow man, like my friends, my family, even as a coworker and a leader, to understand how to take care of my coworkers or staff that I work with better. The Enneagram has so much wisdom to make a difference for us. So tonight we're going to dig into just a basic, what is the Enneagram? And then it's also meant to be a little bit of a teaser, because as some of you know, we have a larger workshop coming up on Saturday. So if what we cover this evening is interesting and you want to learn more, we have a very soon opportunity for you to be able to learn more. But it sounds like a lot of you have heard of it before. But essentially, the Enneagram is a guide to self-discovery. And it can help you to grow in your emotional and psychological maturity. It's also an incredible tool for spiritual growth. Now, the Enneagram is not affiliated with any one religion. It never was. The history of the Enneagram comes from like the wisdom of many centuries contributing to this look at how humans work. But it's not affiliated with any one faith practice. But it has benefits for every faith practice because of what it reveals about our internal working and what motivates us and how we react and respond to things that happen in the world around us. So it's an incredible tool for those of us that are on a faith journey, no matter what the faith practice is that you choose. Now, I think it's also important that we talk about what the Enneagram is not. It has grown in popularity in the last few years, and with that can sometimes be where it gets a little bit too simplified and we learn a bunch of buzzwords about it, but it can kind of get watered down sometimes. And so I think it's important that we also talk about what the Enneagram is not. It is not a really clean box that someone perfectly fits in and you're stuck in that box forever. The Enneagram is actually meant to be a tool that helps us see the box that we're currently stuck in and then show us a way that we can bust out of that box and we can grow in new directions and develop our potential beyond what we thought was possible. So we want to be really careful that we don't stereotype each other, or once we read about a particular type and a particular personality type, that we just put people in that box like this is how you're going to be forever and ever, amen. It's actually meant to be something that reveals our stuck points and what we can do to overcome that and grow beyond that, which I think is, again, for me, one of the really exciting things about the Enneagram. As a tool, it has a lot of different things to benefit each one of us. I love that it highlights the special gifts and attributes of each of the individual types. Every single personality has amazing gifts to bring to the world, and we need each other. We need all these specialized skills and abilities. We need the ways that they look at a problem or approach a new opportunity because they balance each other and they bring different things to the table that then create a really well-rounded team. And so it's really neat to see how all of these different skills can then work together. What's true for each one of us is we have, some troublesome habits sometimes. And sometimes we call it our shadow side, but it's the side of ourselves that we don't like to acknowledge. And we kind of like to pretend like it's not there and just see the good of ourselves. One of the really beneficial things that the Enneagram can help us to do is to name those blind spots and acknowledge them. I'm having a hard time enunciating this evening. I think I have like 3 tongues that are fighting, but I'll just do my best, guys. But it's an amazing, it has an amazing way that it describes and articulates our internal reactions to things. And sometimes it's so accurate, it is almost creepy. It has made me uncomfortable at sometimes because I don't know how you could know that without living in my head. And I'm like, how did you get in there to hear my own self-talk? It's really amazing. But to Gary's point before, like there's a shared humanity in that. I'm not the first person who's thought like this. I'm not the first person who's worried about those things. I'm not the first person who's battled these negative feelings sometimes. So it gives us some tools on how to work on those unconscious reactions. But I also love, it talks a lot about what motivates us. If you want to help somebody complete a task, if you want to help someone feel encouraged and excited about something, it really makes a difference to understand what drives them. And when you know what someone's type is, you get kind of a cheat sheet into the secret workings of their motivation machine. And that can be super helpful. It's also a really great resource for giving us, I don't know who knows this phrase, wake-up calls. But it's like sometimes we're sleeping to something, or we're just like we're keeping our eyes close to it because we don't want to see it. And again, the Enneagram can articulate some of those things that we don't always want to see about ourselves. But also, it can help us with our friends. Like even this week, one of my friends was having some troubles. And so I gave her one of my Enneagram books, the personality types. And I was like, I just want you to read through the stages of when this person is healthy versus when they're really struggling and they're really stressed. Because I think what you're dealing with is this person is really stressed. And so they're reacting and responding to you different than normal. And it was super helpful for her to read through that type's, like their pattern of when they go down and down in stress. And it made so much sense. And I think for her, she felt a lot of relief in being able to read that because it gave her more compassion, it gave her more understanding, and she was able to go back into a conversation with a lot more grace and kindness for that person and less frustration. And so that's just a very small way that the Enneagram tools can make a difference in our daily life. Because you have that awareness, but again, we can't all be mind readers. But when you have an Enneagram tool, it's sometimes a little bit like you're reading someone's mind. Not totally again, because as I said before, you can't really put us each in a box because we don't fit perfectly. But it can give us some clues and some awareness and a jump start in a certain direction to help us be able to care for ourselves and care for other people a little bit better. I really like this quote in the corner, so I included it. He who knows others is learned. He who knows himself is wise. And it is very much true with the Enneagram. Our first responsibility is to know ourselves well, because we are the only ones that can control how we engage with the world and how we respond to the people around us. And it's important that we understand ourselves. It's important that we are honest and owning what's going on inside of us so that we don't unintentionally bring some negative things into someone else's day or someone else's world. And so it's an important thing to always be on a journey of understanding ourselves more so that we can be letting go of things that are negative and not serving us and grabbing a hold of positive things that would help us grow and mature. So We're going to do a quick overview of each type this evening. We aren't going to necessarily help people to identify their type because we don't have time for that in our little quick overview tonight. But I wanted to introduce you to the 9 different personalities. And they are each very unique, and I think they're fascinating. And we're going to look at them from these 4 perspectives. What is their core motivation? What drives them? But also what can derail them? What can get them off track? Sometimes, depending on who you read, they will talk about this like, this is where we can fall into sin the most easily or fall into bad behavior. And then for each personality type, they have a core fear. Like, this is the most scary thing that could happen to them. And they carry that through life. And then what do they most desire? So for them to feel like life is fulfilling, there is a different thing that each of the 9 personality types identify as that like meaning of life and the thing they desire the most. So we're going to go through these one by one. So the other thing I want to mention is that there's several different researchers, and there's people all over the world that have become really interested in the Enneagram. And there's a lot of different titles that have been given to each of the 9 types. So I'm primarily going to just refer to them as the numbers. But for those of you that have read before, you'll have noticed that they have different titles that different people have picked. The artist that I used her art, and I have her name at the end, and you can follow her on Enneagram. She does beautiful things around the Enneagram. She chose a certain researcher's titles. So for this particular researcher, they call one the moralist. Now, the passion of type 1 is anger. And this is kind of like a deep unconscious feeling that they carry with them a lot. Their basic fears of being bad, that somehow they would be defective, that they would be immoral or evil. They always want to do things right and best. And their basic desire is to have integrity, to be honest. And again, it's that idea of doing these to the best of their ability. There's also with the 1, a significant, a lot of times they're called the reformer because they want to strengthen things and make them even better. This is someone on a team that always has an ability to see how we can take it 1 notch better. We can up our game a little bit and constantly be growing towards being stronger in whatever our craft is. And then we have the 2, and this is kind of the sweetheart of the Enneagram. And it's an interesting one because their passion is pride, which you wouldn't think goes with being someone that's a helper. But the interesting thing about this helper mindset is to believe that you can help someone intrinsically comes with a dynamic of believing that you have something to offer. In some way, you're a little bit better than, or you have a little bit more than. And so it has this interesting undercurrent of pride running through the 2. At the same time, they are highly motivated by love and connection. And their biggest fear is being unworthy of love. And their biggest desire in life is to be loved and to be connected to people. And they seek connection and love by serving and meeting the needs of people around them. Then we have type 3. 3s are our achievers. They are often our number 1. In any race, they're coming in number 1. In a competition, they're going for number 1. They want to succeed, and they don't settle for coming in number 2. They are very success oriented. They have an interesting passion of deceit, because in different ways, it's kind of the idea like to get ahead in life and to succeed above you, they're willing to lie, cheat, and steal is kind of the stereotype, or bend the truth a little bit in order to be able to come in the whatever they've determined to be success in that situation. Their biggest fear is being worthless or without inherent value. And their accomplishments are what prove they have value for them. And so that desire is to be valuable, to show that they have worth, that they are worthy of your love, worthy of relationship. Then we have the 4. These are our really deep wells of emotion on the Enneagram. They have an interesting desire to be unique, and they have also this very profound sense of I am the only one. You know, we hear a lot like you're a unique person. There will never be anybody just like you before. There will never be anybody like you in the future. And a lot of us just sort of that like goes right over our head. But for a 4, that is like an incredibly deeply felt thing. Interestingly, their passion is envy. They compare themselves to other people a lot, or they want what you have or what they see in you that seems like it brings happiness or joy or fulfillment in some way. Their fear is being without this special identity or personal significance or a uniqueness that sets them apart in life. And their desire is to be oneself. And what we really mean by that is to, in a very sincere way, embody their full potential. Like, I was designed as this unique human. I need to live into my full uniqueness. If I am the only one that's like me, I need to let like my full potential bloom and have the world experience my full uniqueness. They have a very hard time with like insincerity or putting on a front, because that feels very disingenuous to who they actually are. And then we have 5s. 5s are our deep thinkers in the Enneagram. These like the contemplative people that are always in their head trying to solve a problem, trying to learn and go deeper into something. Their passion is greed, but what it really can look like in life is like protecting their energy, protecting their time, protecting their headspace. They do not feel like this like ever flowing well that just can keep pouring energy. They have a different internal sense that I need to conserve and protect and take care of what I have. So it's not greed in terms of like I want to store up all the money and not share. It's more like their own personal resources of time and energy and headspace. They have a fear of being useless or incompetent, incapable. They would hate it if you asked them a question and they didn't know the answer. That's a bad day. That's a bad day in the life of a 5 when they get asked a question and they don't know the answer. And their deepest desire is to be competent and capable and have the answer when someone wants it. Type 6 are our worry warts a little bit. And I'll tell you, if you ever put a team together to complete a project, make sure you have a 6, because they can see every potential loophole of a problem and help you create a plan to protect yourself from it. They are an invaluable member of a team. You want a 5 to do all your research, and you want a 6 to see all your potential loopholes and anything that could possibly go wrong so that you can have a plan of attack. Their passion is fear, and they do tend to carry a higher amount of anxiety through the days of their average life than the rest of us. Their basic fear is to be without support and guidance. This type is a very loyal type. They are very deep friends, very committed friends. When they commit to a project or a team, they are very reliable, dependable people. And their basic desire is to be secure. And they're very good at creating team. I mean, I am selling the 6, but seriously, you should have them. If you're a leader, get a 6. The 7s they're our fun wagon. If you need to have a good time, make sure you have a 7 coming along. Their passion is gluttony, which it can kind of mean too much, but you can never have too much when you're a 7, which is why their passion is gluttony. Oh, 5 minutes. Oh, this is actually pretty good. And then the basic fear is being deprived, not having something, or being trapped in pain. 7s really value their freedom. They value their autonomy. They don't like to be micromanaged at all. And their basic desire is to be happy and to seek joy and to seek fun. And then we have the 8s. 8s can kind of, depending on the circles that I'm in, sometimes 8s have a bad reputation because they kind of get known for being an intense type. But I don't necessarily, I mean, some people can be intense on all of the numbers, but with the 8s, there can be just a different energy of authority that comes with them. Their passion is lust. Like they want more in different ways. Their fear is being harmed or controlled by others. 8s are an interesting one because they have the toughest exterior, but they have the softest interior, which I apologize, 8s, if I just gave it away, but it's in all the books and they were going to find out anyway. So your 8s have sometimes your biggest heart, but they also have the thickest shell protecting their heart so that it doesn't get hurt or controlled by someone else. And their basic desire is to protect themselves. And then we have 9s. 9s, their passion is sloth, and they get a lot of jokes about this whole sloth business because they really can, like when they get overwhelmed, 9s can shut down in different ways, or they just want to withdraw from the stressful thing in different ways. But they are also people who can be super motivated and get a lot done. So it doesn't mean that they're not good workers or still really dedicated. It's more of like an internal pulling away in stress. Their fear is loss of connection, or this idea of fragmentation is actually within themselves, that they would be disconnected from their own needs and wants and like internal peace. That is their basic desire, is to be at peace and to have harmony in their interior world, have harmony in their family and their loved ones around them. They're called the peacemaker, but 9s tend to, sometimes they're not actually good at making peace. They will retreat and seek their own peace sometimes. It takes a lot for them to go out and try to create peace when there's conflict. So that's a very quick summary of all the 9 types. And I'm curious, I don't know if we have just like a chat box or something, but some of you might have already taken tests to know what your type might be. If you haven't already taken a test, or if you're curious to learn more about your type, as I mentioned before, we do have a workshop on Saturday that will be all about discovering your type and going deeper into learning about your type and how the Enneagram can really serve you as a tool. There are a lot of really cool things with the Enneagram model. And on Saturday, I'll probably demystify the actual Enneagram symbol because it does look a little bit witchy, but it really isn't at all. It's more whatever, you guys know. I'm sure someone, the English is their second language, knows exactly the right way to conjugate that and can correct me. But it's a math thing. It's not a, hooey-wooey thing. So we'll talk more about wings, triads, and subtypes and what all of those words mean this Saturday from 9 to 12. If you register, we actually have a special bonus, which is everyone who registers for Saturday will get invited to take the Cloverleaf Enneagram assessment. And this is a professional assessment that large corporations use with their staff to help identify accurately people's Enneagram types. It doesn't take the place of reading about the types because there is definitely truth to, you know yourself best and you know the voice inside your head best. And so when you read the number that is your personality type, it will resonate so deeply that you'll know that you know, unless you're Gary, and then you will take a while, but eventually you'll know. But this test can be, it's a more like what I'm just going to call research confirmed test to accurately type people. So we'll send you, those of you that sign up, we'll send you the link so you can take that test before you come on Saturday. And with that, I think our time's up. Yeah. So I hope this has been interesting. I'd love to open it up to some questions if we have a few minutes. So please feel free if you have a question or you'd like more information, unmute and ask away.
First, let's give a round of applause. Thanks, Deneen. Yeah, that was awesome.
Oh, yeah.